This podcast contains discussions about sensitive topics, including mental health, alcohol and substance use, as well as suicide. It may also include strong language. The viewpoints expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the hosts. Listener discretion is advised. If you or someone you know needs support, please reach out to a trusted professional or a helpline. Welcome to Twist the Throttle, the podcast where we crank open the throttle on life's toughest rides. From mental health struggles to life on two wheels. We're here to have real, raw, unscripted conversations that break the stigma and help you navigate the road ahead. So grab your helmet, hit the road with us, and remember, it's still okay to pump the brakes. Together, we're shifting gears on mental health. Here's your hosts, Ambo and the Prez.
Well, welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Twist the Throttle. This week, we've got Dennis from Run That Rehab. Thank you for coming along, Dennis.
Thanks for inviting us, guys.
Mate,
Yeah,
thanks
awesome.
thanks for making the big trek. You're working down to Phillip Island today, so getting up here to Point Cook, not an easy trek for you.
No, it was a long day.
So,
How was the traffic actually getting across? Pretty good?
It was actually all right.
Yeah.
It was actually all right. And I'm excited to be here because, one of my mates, Troy, came down here and
Yeah.
said good things
That
about
was
you.
a really
So,
good
Yeah.
podcast, Troy's one.
Troy's was great. Yeah, he pretty much taught us how to podcast. It was good.
Beautiful.
It was good. So you're huge on social media at the moment. You've got quite a few followers on TikTok and your reels and everything else for Run That Rehab. It's, how'd you get into that?
So how I got into that was, obviously I did rehab.
Yep.
I did for around 2 years. And when I was in there, like within myself, I wanted to pivot down this area to work in a rehab.
Yep.
But what they don't tell you, you got to get a working with children's check.
Yeah, okay.
And I didn't know that had to do with violence, and selling drugs.
Yeah.
So I was in rehab during COVID and there was a bit of a backlog.
Yeah.
So I applied for it, got rejected. And the process is you go down VCAT and appeal it, but you have X amount of time to do it. And so I appealed it, threw in the email to request the appeal, and time went past,
Yeah.
6 months and whatnot. And I rang VCAT up and I said, hey,
What's going on?
what's going on? Where's this appeal? They go, we haven't got an email from you. I go, what's your email address? And I thought to myself, I'm still in rehab. I didn't have a fucking email.
Yeah.
My therapist sent it.
Oh, okay.
So I went to the therapist and I said, hey, VCAT, blah, blah, blah. Can you check for me when you sent it? And he goes, I'll have a look. And then when he had a look, he goes, Dennis,
I sent it to the wrong place.
I forgot to do it.
Oh,
Oh.
Jesus.
And you have to wait 5 years.
Oh,
And
no way.
I've been in rehab for like nearly 2 years,
Yep.
and I've learned about how to regulate my emotions. I could have went down the route of like, fuck this cunt,
Yeah.
I studied alcohol and other drugs, done the course, and now I can't work within the field because I haven't got to working with children's
All
check.
this time's been wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in hindsight, that was a lesson I had to regulate and ride through. And that paved the way to run that rehab, because it's like in life, sometimes the doors of opportunity open and
Yeah.
some of them close. And with me, and sometimes you got to kick them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I created Run That Rehab and a bit over a year ago. And this is to the point where I'm at now, is sitting with you guys
Yeah.
doing this podcast.
Yeah, mate.
No,
So-
I love that you come here and sharing your story with us, mate. It's good.
So we normally start a bit lighter than that.
I come in heavy.
Before you started, yeah. What was life like at your worst? Yeah, paint us on a day to day at the bottom.
Right, if we're going straight, jumping into it right at the bottom, like we were just outside talking about mental health and suicide.
Yes.
So I guess when I was 19, I've already been to Parkville, which is a juvenile justice system. It was called Toronto, or it was called Class A, or Classification A. And I was there, did my few months there. I got out, went straight back into Malmesbury, doing more time. And then when I got out, I was like straight back on the heroin, straight back in the game. And I was 19 at the time, and I've been using heroin since I was 16. And just that constant cycle. I remember I was like everyone else, looked at suicide as a way out, or it was more so like had that stigma, like you're weak if you went down that route. But it's a fucking lonely place when you ain't got no one to speak to, when you're on your own, you know, and going through that heroin cycle as a child,
Yeah.
you know, 16 to 19, you know, I was at my weakest point, you know, and I remember your self-worth and just your sense of being is like you have no purpose in life. You got no one to talk to. You have all the weight of the world on your shoulders as a teen. And I remember looking in the mirror, and we were outside just talking about God. And I remember looking in the mirror and saying, God, if this is what's destined for my life, I don't want to be here. So I remember I grabbed the box cutter, you know, pulled out my arms, and I remember looking in the mirror at the time and I go, fuck it. So bang, just put it down my arm, and I go, because you hear these stories in jail, like if you're going to do it, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
You go straight down the arm, and then you sit in the shower and you bleed out till the screws wake you up in the morning, or try and wake you up in the morning. They'll find you dead.
Yeah.
You know? So I remember sitting in that shower as a 19-year-old, blood dripping down, you know, out of my arm onto the floor, down the drain. And I could feel the numbness come, you know? And it also, when the water hits it, it fucking stings. And I remember I went to walk past my dad in his study room, walked past my dad, and then went to my room. And I remember, I'm going to just lie here till I go unconscious, and then there'll be no more. You know, that's the state I was in.
Yep.
You know, there wasn't the awareness about mental health, how it is in these days. And I remember bleeding out, and I could slowly start to feel like that numbness getting stronger and stronger. And when you come close to it, or I'm speaking for myself, you get this sense of, actually, I don't want to die. And so I remember going up to my dad when he was in study. I go, I need you to take me to hospital. And he's just looking at his 19-year-old son.
He's bleeding out.
He's bleeding out. Bang, jumped in the car, went to Dandenong Hospital. And basically, during that time, I think the heroin epidemic was that bad that the community was a bit desensitized from this type of stuff, especially from that area. And I remember them stitching me up, and the nurse said, so is everything all right? Is everything all right?
That was a mental health plan.
Yeah, that was my mental health care plan.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'm all right, you know, being 19. And then, yeah, my dad drove me home. But the thing is, the way I grew up, I'm not saying this with every Asian family, but with mine, we don't talk about stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we don't talk about anything. We don't talk about our feelings. We don't show emotion. And nothing to take away from my parents, because they're, you know, beautiful. But all they said to me is, Dennis, don't do that again.
Mm.
And that's the only conversation I've ever had about it.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's where my 19-year-old self was back in the 90s. And that was early days in my addiction. So
Would you say that's the moment you realized you didn't have control anymore?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a moment, all right.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I wouldn't wish it upon anyone.
Mm.
And that's when Troy from Complete Health Geelong said, you guys are about mental health. I go, this is a good opportunity to give back.
Yeah.
You know, because like we were talking about before, the way the world is now, it wasn't like this back when we were young. You
Definitely
could
not.
speak about mental health.
So at 19, you've done this to yourself. When did you actually reach out to somebody for help?
Oh, when I reached out to someone for help, well, that was like
years
like
later.
38.
Yeah,
38.
Right. So
and I
you
did
this whole road by yourself, mate.
Yeah. And there was another couple of times I went to adult prison from that, and then another 8 times detox.
Yeah, so in the prison system and the youth justice system, are they a bit more aware of the mental health situation? I know.
Well, in the 90s, I never heard about it.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were just doing your time.
Yeah, just doing the time. And we were young, so it's not like that's at the forefront of our mind.
Yeah. So when was the first time you actually went into juvie? At 19, I'm guessing?
That was a
No.
long time ago. 18 years old, I had my birthday in a detox in Dandenong. 19, I had my birthday in Class A or Parkville.
Yeah.
And I think I had, don't quote me, I had my 20th in Malmesbury.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're knocking about with other people that were in a similar situation to what you were in, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. So if we were to take it back, so when I was young, 14, 16, because back in those days, in the 90s, it was still fucking racist back then, like bad.
Yeah.
You know, I used to get called black cunt, gook, and nigger from everyone, you know? And I guess when you're copping all that shit and then you start to hang around the local area, which for me was Dandenong, you know, my parents were immigrants, but then there was a lot of other people like me, you know, whether it be islanders, other Asians, you know, wogs. And so, yeah, I began to start to hang around Dandenong. And it's quite funny because, not with everyone, but for me, it started out with marijuana at 14, you know. You start out smoking cigarettes, and then straight to, you know, at school. And then 14, it was marijuana. And then 16, it was heroin. But now that I'm older and a bit wiser, it's like the drugs actually just became the catalyst of my interactions.
Yeah.
You know? And because I got tied in with that heroin game, that filled the void of what I was lacking at home.
So that was, they were your family.
Yeah, because I didn't have connection because they would speak Filipino. I couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
Imagine going to families, dinners, birthdays, Christmases, and you don't know what the fuck anyone's talking about.
Yeah.
But then, so you're isolated. But then when I'm hanging around with the boys, they're all isolated too because their parents came from another country. And
my mum's Scottish. She speaks Scottish and fucking I can't understand her. Especially when she's been drinking.
So that heroin community became my community.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that's why I was dialed in for so long.
Yeah.
So first time you got clean, what was it like going into the first relapse?
When I was, if we're talking getting clean, because I never really got clean until I went to rehab. But every time I went to detox, I'll do the detox. But on that last day, you know, the reality, because I can disconnect from the outside world when I'm in an institution of some sort.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the last day, I'm like, no. But as you're packing your bags, it's like the addict behavior starts scheming. And like, who can I meet up with? Who can I call? What time is it? What time will they be on? And then bang, you're already not lapsed, just straight
back into the old shoes, mate.
Straight back into it. And it's like, then the same process plays out. It's like the justification I used today. I haven't used in 7 to 10 days. And then
what was the worst lie you've ever told yourself going through justifying it?
The worst lie?
Just for you.
For me?
Yeah. To yourself, yeah?
To myself, it's the same lie that I think every addict tells himself. Just one. Oh, and then the second day rolls in, just 2. And then it's like, if I don't use the third day, I'm sweet. But the third day rolls around.
Yeah.
And then it's just that cycle, and rinse and repeat. Cycle. Yeah.
So if you're looking back at yourself back then, what would you say to yourself what would you do looking back now differently to stop that from happening, yeah? What would somebody do for you?
What I'll do,
if mum and dad come and picked you up and took you in straight from there and like changed,
I guess it would be like my self-worth.
Yeah.
Being able to express my emotion instead of shutting it down. I guess all my life I was shutting my emotions down. So what's the difference with heroin now? That's just a behavior that amplifies what I've already been doing since I was born.
Yeah.
You know, I remember specifically, when I was in primary school or high school, I remember all the Aussie kids, all the white kids, they'll be like best friends with their parents. They'd talk about anything.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't say, I couldn't have that relationship with my parents.
Yeah.
My parents would be like, we're not your friends. We're your parents. You do what we say. Yeah, you do what I say.
Yeah, get that.
Um,
So what was different about going into rehab to just the regular detoxing?
So I guess the regular detoxing, we're focusing on getting clean.
Yeah.
I guess rehab.
Were they actually feeding you methadone to get you off?
Yeah. So I was on heroin, obviously, and I was part of the Suboxone program as well, but I wasn't taking it right.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, you have to take it every day, but of course, as an addict, I prefer the heroin.
Yeah.
So when I have to go in every day to the chemist, it's like a piece of film you put under your tongue. So what I'll do is I'll just get a chewing gum, chew it, put it under my tongue. So then when I have to take the piece of film, I'd put it on the chewing gum.
The butte.
Yeah, the butte.
Yeah.
Put it on my tongue, walk out, and I'll just spit it on the ground.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, if you have heroin in your system and you take the Suboxone, you'll go through withdrawals instantly.
Yeah.
So and it's sort of like that catch-22.
Yeah. So it was not a working one for you.
Nah.
So Odyssey House, how did you end up there?
Odyssey House, like I did the detoxings like heaps of times, and I actually spoke about this in one of my reels. I was with this girl at the time, you know, and at that time I was selling heroin down Richmond on Vic Street, and I was going through the stage of whereas I don't want to be with another heroin addict again.
Yeah.
But this chick smoked ice and smoked marijuana, and I remember going on the nod, you know, from heroin and benzos and whatnot. And she ended up grabbing a box cutter and slicing me twice in the arm while I was asleep. You know, I woke up, mind you, I'm still fucking smashed, and she's pulling out this box cutter out of my arm, you know, just slices. And it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
But it's become to the point where that's
normal.
Sort of, you know, normal or acceptable, you know? And that wasn't the first time. There's been a few other times.
Yeah.
And so it was from then, it's like, I really need to get my shit together.
Yeah.
It's never,
This is more than just an unhealthy relationship.
If there's a sign, this is one.
Yeah.
And also I was 38, so what I was doing then was exactly what I was doing when I was in my teens, 16, 18, you know, and within myself, I always thought that I won't be on the gear forever. I will make it out. But I said that when I was 16, I said that was when I was 20, 25, 30, 35. Now I'm pushing 38 and it's like, no, nothing's going to change unless I do. So that's when I was on some sort of corrections order. I can't remember what it was, but they ended up doing the referral for me to go into rehab. So I went into rehab at 2019.
Yeah. So when you're in rehab, you ended up in a leadership role, is that right?
Yeah. So in rehab with this one, and mind you, like Odyssey House had a reputation. I remember when I was, for being really fucking strict, as in, I also remember when I was 18, 19, I was about to get locked up. I was sitting in the cells, and there was these dudes from Dandenong there, and, you know, we were all talking. They were a bit older than me, and they're going, oh, what are you boys going to do? Oh, you know, they were talking about Pentridge, because Pentridge was still open then, and they were talking about Odyssey House, and the boys are going, fuck that, I ain't going to Odyssey House, send me to Pentridge.
Wow.
So I've always had that instilled in me.
Yeah.
You know? But, walking into Odyssey House, the only reason I walked into it there was because I had two other friends from the Dandenong Springvale area, other Asians that, you know, probably went through the same thing I went through. And I guess in my culture, you don't really see many Asians asking for help because we got the whole, when it comes to family, now we're talking lose face. Your family loses face because their son's a fucking junkie, heroin addict of all of them.
You embarrass us.
Yeah.
Stay away because we don't want to fucking
Yeah.
be embarrassed by you.
That's it.
So that's the worst thing you could probably do to a young kid. Gotta fucking.
So I'm still hiding shit.
Yeah.
You know, so, and they went there. One became a therapist there. One ended up becoming a staff member there. And like, I was still fucking up on the streets for a good 6, 7 years. And I'd see them on the social media, you know, healthy lives and stuff. And I've done jail with one of them at Port Phillip. And just seeing them go through it and coming out the other end, I knew that if I went to some soft approach rehab, it's not going to work for me because I work well with institutions. I can run with the system, you know? And so, yeah, the only place I thought that could save me was this rehab
the one that you thought was worse than people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was strict.
Yeah.
And that's what we lack in addiction is discipline and structure.
Why is being treated with respect and not pity or judgment so powerful for rehab?
With not pity?
Yeah, not being pitied instead of...
Oh, because this is what I find in recovery. Obviously, you have to address your trauma, you know, so you can find the underlying reasons for your addiction. But I also find that when it comes to pity or that victim mode,
yeah,
and especially if you live within that code,
yeah,
so to speak, you always visualize and focus on your problems rather than within a different mindset, be focused on solutions.
Yeah.
So when you become trapped in that mindset, you don't see a way out.
Yeah.
You only see the injustice and resentment that comes with it to your situation. And you want to be validated for what you went through, but the world fucking moves on with or without you. So it took me a while, from the area I come up with, you know, disconnected family.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so did other people. And yeah, to switch that. And I learned this at this rehab because they were fucking super strict. You know, you had to get held accountable for everything, which I didn't know nothing about. I didn't know nothing about trauma. I thought trauma was something was a result of a car accident or something.
Yeah.
I did not know.
Emotional trauma.
Yeah. I did not know the term emotional honesty.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing of that. So yeah, but that rehab helped me heaps. And even though I speak about it on Run That Rehab, I speak it, but what people don't see is from my time in rehab, from the first day to the, 2 years or just under, I had to go through everything. I had to fail at holding my boundaries many times. I had to fail with my accountability, but I had to work through that to achieve it. And that's what I keep at the forefront of my mind is, yeah, you can get clean, but becoming the person that stays clean is a whole different game. And yeah, that's what I touch on with Run That Rehab, is that your mindset is the key and how you view things and your perspective, because you can have 3 blokes in one room looking at the same thing, but we'll have different views on it.
That's right. 100%. So what surprised you most about trying to rebuild sober?
What surprised me is that...
Was there any hard bits that, no one actually warned you about?
Yeah, there's fucking heaps of hard bits. Like, yeah, you're in addiction, you go to rehab, you meet all these people, I'm going to be friends for life. But the thing is, you get let out of rehab one by one, you're not as a group. You go to rehab, you come out on your own.
Yeah.
And it's your accountability and what you do when no one's looking that aligns with your values is what's going to maintain your recovery sort of thing. Because I've seen a lot of people run a good game in rehab. They had the way with words, everything, but they were the first ones to lapse because they didn't work on their shit they need to work on, and whether I pinpointed mine. And with everything I've been through, my addiction lies within my sense of belonging, feeling part of, community, and which I didn't have within my own home.
Yeah.
And being emotionally honest to speak about things,
Mm.
you know, just like what you boys are trying to raise awareness on, is that as men, it's very hard to be vulnerable. And I had this problem within rehab too, expressing my emotions. I remember saying to one of my peers at the time, you know, we're talking about vulnerability, and they said something along the lines of about me being vulnerable. I go, brother, I feel like every time I walk in there, they want me to fucking cry or something.
Mm.
And they said, maybe for you, Dennis, being vulnerable is talking about what you did for the day instead of, you know, conversations out here like with other blokes. Well, what's going on, brother? What's been happening? Nothing much. How you been? Oh, I've been all right.
Mm.
There's more. That was my conversations with other males growing up. And I was telling them about fear. Like when they're talking about fear, I didn't understand what they meant. Like when you're in the dope game or you live in that prison life, the most I would say is, well, I don't know, brother. It's a bit sketchy. It's a bit dicey, this one. You know, instead of saying, fuck.
That's going to
yeah. I did not know anxiety was that thing in my chest. You know,
beating out of your chest. Mate.
Yeah, I was so used to regulating it that I couldn't recognize it when it came up until I went to rehab. And it's like, oh shit, that's
you got to rebuild your everything.
Yeah.
So
what in rehab? You talked about, you know, changing your values. What values did they try and instill from where you started?
Oh, fucking, there's so much, whether it be accountability, you know, emotional honesty. This accountability was a big one, you know, and getting called on your shit.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, in rehab, you cannot fucking skate around the ring. You'll get pulled up real fucking quick.
Yeah.
You know, because they do create a safe space where
you're loyal to people that are helping you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what value do you hold the highest now?
The highest value within myself is not breaking the promises I make myself.
Yeah.
And I was having this conversation the other day. It's like, fuck, I'm burning out, you know. I wake up at 5, get home at 5, do a reel, edit it, bang, it's 12 o'clock just to get up at 5 again the next morning.
Yeah.
You know? And I said, I remember saying to my workmate, I go, hey, I got a question for you. Because we do like random questions. And she goes, what? I go, do I sound fucking crazy that like you talk to this dude at work and he says, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going to do reels. What are you doing tonight? I'm going to make reels. and she fucking nodded her head too.
Yeah.
You know, but the reason why I do it, even though how tired, you know, I am, or even, you know, big shit that's happened in my life, is because I have this knowing that I know myself, my self-worth will drop if I break the promise, you know, that I make myself. And that will lead on to other breaking promises to like, I'll come catch up with you, still podcaster, to, can we make it next week?
Yeah.
You know, and then it leads on to bigger things.
Yeah.
So what I do with my life is I fucking, I take care of the small things.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. That's why I find it easier.
Perfect. I love that. Yeah. Looking back, was there a single person or moment that was a breakthrough that changed your entire path?
Yeah. I brought this up before, but like I said, I've been to detox 9 times. On the 9th time, I got it and went to rehab. And it was that time when one of the workers there. So I've been to all different rehabs, Windana, one in Dandenong, across the road from Dandenong Oasis. And I also been to Wellington House, and Wellington House in Box Hill. And I went there 4 times within 2 years.
This is, sorry for the people uninitiated, is this voluntary?
This one's voluntary.
You present.
Yeah.
You don't get taken there and dropped off.
Nah, I applied to go there, got in 4 times within 2 years, and the worker's just like, you know, there's Dennis again.
Welcome back, yeah.
You know, he's giving me my vowels, you know, because I'm going through the detox stage, and he goes, hey, Dennis, how long you been on the gear for? I remember I was fucking hanging out, and I looked up at him, leaning against the wall, and I go, 25 years. And he paused and he goes, can you do another 25? And in that moment, you know, when I'm getting my medication, I thought to myself, and time stood still, and it was like, can I do another 25? Yeah, getting addicted to heroin at 16, going to Parkville, going to Malmesbury, Port Phillip and Fulham. You know, as a young kid or young head, it's all right because you're going through a different stage of your life. But when you're 38, you're a third. You only got a third of your life left around about. And it's like, can I go to jail at 38? And, you know, because like when it comes to trafficking or stabbings, you know, now I'm going to cop a big time next time. It's not fucking a couple of years now. You're going to do long. And it's like, what? Then I get out at 45 or I've only got a small window to play catch up and make something of my life, because what stuck in my head was, if I don't pull my shit together now at 38, I will be one of those people, you know, pensioners on the bus, you know, with their trolleys, gonna Coles to get baked beans and whatnot.
Because your life's gone.
Because your life's gone.
It's wasted.
It's wasted. And it's like, you know, 75 years old is the average lifespan of an Australian. You know, I'm 38. You know, there's only a little bit left. And if I don't have that insight, nothing's going to change.
You couldn't do another 25 years, mate.
No, I couldn't.
No, that's a good turning point, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's
that one question was
that one question. And he may not know that the impact it had on me, you know, and I've said this heaps of times in reels, you know, this story about, you know, how long you've been doing it for. You've got another 25 in you, you know, just to give other people whatever they're going through to reassess their lives. Yeah.
Okay, so what does Run That Rehab mean to you beyond the name?
Run That Rehab. It was, I guess, with Run That Rehab and from all the therapy that I've sought over the time, there's a sense of rawness and realness and straight to the point, you know, message, as in the people I speak to, they're from the street, they're from addiction and heavy in it. And obviously there's programs and therapies out there that, you know, can benefit from them, but there is no connection. The walk, talk and act different between clinical and hardline addiction. And Run That Rehab is the bridge in between to drive traffic towards professional help.
Yeah.
Because I did not know about recovery or, you know, rehabs till I had some friends go through it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's only because I had friends go through it, then I was open to go seek treatment myself. Because I was that guy. Fuck NA, fuck rehab. Why would I want to be surrounded by other addicts talking about
detox,
drugs,
it's
whatever?
a long road. You got to look at it. It's like giving up smoke.
Yeah.
So you're looking at it as like it's such a long road, and people avoid all that freaking trauma. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you got to open people's eyes.
Yeah. So Run That Rehab is like like you said, a stepping stone to get some help.
Get some help.
Get the message out there.
So was Run That Rehab born from for your own survival, or more to help others?
To help. The thing I was good at when I was in rehab was I was good at speaking. And ever since I was a child, I was able to speak and make friends easily. Just like when I just met you guys not so long ago, it just ran smooth, you know.
Yeah, I normally do it at servos. And talk to random people at servos.
Yeah. And my friendliness and open to engage comes from my childhood trauma, from being disconnected. So I was always
looking for someone to connect to.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what people from addiction lack is connection.
Why do you believe movement, running, martial arts, physical strain is critical in the mental recovery?
With mental health and my recovery, the hidden gem is community.
Yeah.
You know, when I was in rehab towards the end, I joined Team Ellis and I did this thing called Pretender to Contender, where you train for 3 months and then you fight.
Yeah.
You know, and I fought in the Melbourne Pavilion in front of 3,000 people. But the thing is, when it comes to whether combat sports, martial arts, or anything of that nature, you need discipline. You need to hold accountable to your goals, whether it be training, cardio, eating, whatnot. Because if you don't, you will be unearthed in the ring, you know? And what I love about the ring is, and any fighters, is that they never say, if they lose a fight, oh, it was this cunt's fault. You know, he did this, that. No, they have accountabilities. I did not use the ring.
If I did this better, I could have.
Yeah.
My diet wasn't right for the last.
Yeah, they don't make excuses.
Yeah.
You know?
So you do a partnership with Martial Arts Maniacs?
Yeah, so I met Martial Arts Maniacs. So Martial Arts Maniacs has ties with Taekwondo Times. And Taekwondo Times was a magazine, you know, that's been around for 40 plus years. You know, they're American based.
Yeah.
And the same thing is like mental health, whether it be Taekwondo, MMA, boxing, kickboxing, they do wonders for mental health, you know. Every story, Manny Pacquiao, Mike Tyson, they all come from the struggle.
Yeah.
And they have that community. But what I've become what I've become clued onto is that all this martial arts combat sports, there's a whole pool of mental health which they haven't aligned with. And because people in addiction, they need a community, because all of these gyms, dojos, whatever, they become like family, you know, it helps you improving each other, training together, you know, doing healthy things, healthy habits. You have to have goals in martial arts.
A sense of purpose, yeah.
Sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And yeah, the mindset you develop and the self-development and the self-worth, especially a young kid, you know, getting bullied, or a young girl getting bullied at school. If you learn how to fight, because the initial thing is we don't like confrontation. We don't like to get in arguments, create conflict, because if you create conflict, then there might be a punch on. But if you can fucking defend yourself and use correctly, obviously, then you have confidence as well.
Confidence. That's where the confidence comes from.
Yeah. There's so many stuff that all of those combat sports, whatnot, appeal to and align with, and the hidden gems within that. It's amazing.
So you wish you actually got into that a lot sooner?
Oh, with the boxing and whatnot.
Martial arts and
well, I loved fighting as, you know, a kid. And all my friends did, you know, we all still go to watch events, MMA and boxing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love it.
So when did healing become something more than just survival for you? When did you find your purpose?
I found it in, my purpose wasn't clear. It only became clear when I was in rehab, and it was driving towards being a AOD worker within a rehab. But then that also paved the way to Run That Rehab. And now I reach millions than opposed to, you know, people within that one community, within a rehab. And it also, I was having this conversation the other day, is when you come from that life of addiction and recovery, and we're talking about isolation and connection, we all heard the saying before, the opposite of addiction is connection and whatnot. When I got out of rehab, there was about 20 of us, and one by one, they all fell off. And when I got down to about 5, I went to NA, and not necessarily for the program, but to fulfill the void of connection.
Yeah.
And so, I got that connection there.
NA is Narcotics Anonymous?
Yeah, Narcotics Anonymous.
Yeah.
And once there, you see the world, because I already got my recovery. I've done 2 years of rehab, but then I was humbled by my experiences in NA in the 12 steps meeting. And just with my ability to speak, and because I had a leadership role when I was in rehab where I would speak to 120 people all the time, I always had this feeling inside me that I was destined to do something.
Yeah.
And I believe, we were talking about God before, you know, do you believe in God? And before I had that moment I was telling you about in the shower, you know, everything I went through, whether it be the stints in Parkville, the stints in the adult system, the 9 detoxes, that's what I had to go through to get to this point in life.
Yeah.
To be able to create Run That Rehab, even though I started a year ago, it started when all that lived experience from the age of 14 of smoking marijuana to 16 and to where I'm at now is all lived experience.
You've been through it. Yeah.
You've been through it.
You're not just talking about
No.
it. Yeah.
And that's how people relate to you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been there. You've struggled. You've done the road.
Yeah.
And I've just,
it definitely comes through in your reels that this isn't a guy just talking about shit.
ain't just talking about
seen some shit. Yeah.
So does it feel like you've landed on your purpose now?
Oh, I'm definitely on my purpose now. Now it's all about climbing.
So what got you started on TikTok?
Oh, so TikTok. So the reason I got started on TikTok, that wasn't my intentions. What I really wanted to do was YouTube, to do long form, but also I didn't have any followers, and like their structure is different. Like long form, 7 minutes or longer, whatnot. It's hard to maintain, especially if you ain't got no one and no one knows you.
Yeah.
You know, you'll go nowhere on the algorithm. So I thought, I'll do these reels, you know, to be the preview or the trailer for my YouTube. And so I started that a year ago, and like a bit over a year ago, I bought the drones, I bought the laptops, I bought Adobe Premiere Pro.
Yeah, look, so I'm trying to do the Twist the Throttle podcast. I'll do a little bit of a plug there. But yeah, I'm finding it really hard. It is a hard step to take to make long format stuff on YouTube. I mean, each one of our episodes requires, half an hour or more of motorcycle riding, and
even this show, we're just on Spotify. We've got the YouTube channel where we're putting the podcast over his footage of him riding and stuff.
Yeah. Try not to do illegal shit.
So far, I went through.
I fucking failed. Red lights are my favorite thing in the world.
We'll record like an hour tonight. It's a good 3 hours of editing to try and get it up to something that I can release. Like
it's hectic.
It's hectic. Yeah,
it's hectic.
Yeah. So
I think there's a lot more work involved in content creation than people actually realize.
Back when it was 3 a.m. in the morning, I was still fucking cracking on trying to add little.
Like you just said, getting home from work at 5 and then stopping at midnight.
It's a grind.
It is, and if you drop the grind, you drop off and disappear.
Yeah, and it's but like the way my editing is now is a lot different to when I first started. But I had to go all through that shit just to get to this point.
To learn it.
To learn you got to learn your craft as, you guys are learning your craft.
Yeah.
And this is, all of this in here right now is making you.
Yeah. We're trying, man. We're trying.
So you got 24,000 followers, and that's growing.
Yeah, just a couple more than us.
Yeah. It's like approximately 45,000. That's 25,000 on TikTok.
Just on TikTok.
Yeah, right. So is there any message that's actually really hit home to you, like from that?
Any comment from your audience that hit you in the chest?
Yeah, it's the ones that say they want to kill themselves.
And then, and then you made a difference.
Yeah, and that they've come across my stuff at the point in life where it gives them hope.
Fucking hell, unreal.
And from I'm talking about from parents, their kids going through stuff, not knowing what to do, partners having their boyfriends about to come out of jail, from a young head, doing bizzo with vapes, and he's thinking about moving to dope.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I go, mate, but the money's better. I go, yeah, the money is better. But you know what else goes up? The violence.
You're killing people.
Yeah. And, just having those little chats, it makes them see reality.
So you're the light for others, but you're human too. How do you carry that weight with you?
How do I carry the weight with me? It's heavy.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm being honest, it's heavy.
Have you were saying outside, you do all this by yourself. You don't have help from others.
Nah, I do it all by myself. I don't have a PA, reading the messages and seeing which ones need to get back to. At the start, it was easy. I used to comment on all of the comments.
Yeah.
But then as each platform grows.
45,000 followers.
Yeah,
that's
45.
That's a full-time job.
Yeah. And it's like, now it's got to the point where my actual job is getting in the way of this.
Yeah. Is there any money to be made in TikTok doing that?
In TikTok,
Yeah.
See, we're different than America in that we don't get paid per views.
Yeah.
You know, I guess if you're doing lives, I don't do lives, every day. I only do them once with the boys on a Monday night for an hour. And so
it's the knockaround boys.
Yeah, the knockaround guys. So
that's a good crew. We've had Troy on. We reached out to Jacob and got his virtual assistant telling us that we weren't big enough.
I love him, but I guess it is far if you're flying from over, interstate.
Troy said, "Oh, when he's down, we'll reach out to him." I reached out to him. I got this message back going like, "Who are you?" Like, no, you're still open invite there, Jacob.
So
have you ever felt like disappearing from it all?
No, I'm only just getting started.
Yeah, good.
I'll be around for a while.
Yeah.
And, just big goals, big dreams.
So if you met a guy who's watching one of your videos at 2 a.m. thinking he's already failed, what do you got to say to him?
What I'd say to him, that he's already failed. Like, I've been in that spot too.
Yeah.
And you can keep on failing. You can look at the world through those lenses, or you can change the lens. But you got to really let your ego aside and accept humility as a strength, and to reach out and ask for help, because help won't come unless you put your hand up for it. The world won't read your mind, and the world don't owe you nothing. But the world is yours for the taking.
Only you can make that first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fight's not over till you can't. Yeah, love it.
Again, what does success look like for you these days?
Success? Obviously, I'm just getting started in the rehab game, with recovery. And my plans is to take it very fucking far.
Yeah.
With rehabs and detoxes out there, when you look at their pages, they got all their services, they all got their stock photos up there. 100 views and whatnot on my reels alone is like, we're talking thousands, right? Because they don't have the connection to the people they're actually talking to.
Yeah.
When you look at a website, all you see is the services. There is no face there.
Yeah.
That you're building a connection with.
Yeah.
And Run That Rehab is the bridge in between.
Yeah, love it.
You're the story behind it. This is what this is what you're going to go through.
Yeah. And expect it.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking, yellow brick road.
Yeah, that's right. And everything's different.
Yeah.
The one story is different to the next.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's a big one. What's one truth about rehab you wished someone had told you earlier?
One thing about rehab.
One truth.
It's it's chaos in there. You're surrounded by trauma 24/7. Walking into meetings, people crying in there, people crying when they get out, people fighting, people arguing. It's quite volatile in there. But there is moments of peace, and there's moments of clarity. But you have to go through all of that shit to see it, or even you have to change your perspective on things to really appreciate things. Because I went to jails and detoxes and all these institutions, and when I found myself in rehab, the thing about addiction, you develop this ability to read people. You've seen dynamics play, alpha males to popular kids, unpopular kids, people doing the shady business behind the scenes. You see differentiate the difference between a head nod that means come to the toilets, or a head nod that the guy behind you is talking shit about you, or the head nod, this guy's all right. Being able to read body language is key.
So how has helping others helped you stay sober and solid, mate?
Because here's the thing, when you, to staying sober, right, or staying clean, like my mindset's pretty strong, and my sense, I'm pretty relentless, but I also have the humility to understand that I'm going to have my fucking moment one time too. And especially the circle I'm in, I have to have everyone on point. because I will have my time, and I need my people around me strong enough to lean on. You know, I don't need them buckling. So the people I run with, you know, they're high functioning. They're always, how do you say it? We're always chasing it,
Yep.
like just like an addict, you know, whether it be chasing the dragon, but we're chasing our goals, and it's the pedal to the floor. But we also make space to actually talk about what we're going through. I actually rang a mate and said, "Hey, I love what we do, but I also love, you know, your humility, because you speak about what you're going through, like your daily struggles. You know, people think we all got our shit together, but we also go through shit as well. And to have a network of friends, whether it be male or female, and to have that platform to speak to things when you're going through shit, it fucking carries a lot of weight. And that's something I never had before when I was in addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had 30 seconds with the most broken version of yourself, what would you say?
The most broken version of myself.
You were standing there talking to the kid, looking in the mirror with that razor blade.
What I'd say to him is like, I'd say, Dennis, just fucking breathe for a minute. Things won't always be this way. And that you do matter. Because I guess when you're in that space, you don't think you fucking matter to anyone.
Yeah.
You don't think the world will miss you. You know, you'll just be wiped off the face of the earth. But I guess sometimes when you're in addiction, sometimes we're just too blind to see it. You know, people have been trying to help us all this time, but we just didn't give them any attention. And maybe they were the actual, you know, angel sent to you to save you.
Yeah. You couldn't see it.
Yeah, you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
You got to make that first step for help, though, eh?
You do. You really do.
Yeah, you break that wall down. And that is the fucking hardest part, is just to say, oh, I'm fucking not doing good. I need help. And you need to do that. Yeah, anyway, so what's next for Dennis? Personality, professionally, spiritually?
I guess professionally, I've already told my boss I'm going to leave my job, you know. I'm going to pursue this full time with what avenue that takes me down, because there's so many opportunities out there, and there's a void that needs to be filled within the recovery game, as in it's still running like on 1980s mindset.
Yeah.
And we need to evolve with the times, because if we don't evolve with the times, you know, we might be like, I'll speak to myself, you know, my parents, you know, of that generation that still don't know how to use a mobile phone, you know, because they weren't, they were set in their ways, when adaptability is also the secret to my recovery, or to my success.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be on point.
Yeah. When all the noise fades, what do you want people to remember about you?
When it all fades,
what do you want your legacy to be?
It would be that, to be remembered, so to speak, as in, if I change the lives of others, then they will change the lives of the others around them. You know, I'm talking about kids, you know, I'm talking about, you know, parents, because I guess what I've realized is that our time here will come to an end, and that's guaranteed. You know, it's what we do in between that, you know, I can call life.
Yeah. I've got a tattoo on my arm that's called the dash. That's the dash between birth and death.
Oh, nice.
That's your whole life. Yeah. Yeah. Little dash is everything. Yeah.
It's like that movie, Little Pay It Forward. Remember that little movie?
Yeah.
You do something for somebody, and you're hoping that they'll go and do that.
The whole reason we started this podcast, and we said to each other, if we can help one person feel like they're not alone, we've done something. Yeah. And you're reaching thousands. You're reaching millions. Yeah.
You know,
and that's what it's about, man. It's about just like all the evil shit you may have done in the past, you can make amends for. Yeah. You can
That's what
You
we're
could
doing.
be a better positive change in the world as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that because before I even did my first reel, you know, I think I put it on a post. It was along the lines of, God give me the wisdom and the words to bless people's lives as you have blessed mine, so that one day they can bless others. And, you know, that's saying, like, I remember going to work on the job sites, I would have that moment, you know, on my way to work that I'd look in the mirror and tilt it down, and I'd say this phrase, you know, every morning, you know, just to ground myself. Affirmations, because, you know, that worker in Detox, that small statement he said about the 25 years, that's what had a big impact on mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more question we always throw in there is anything else that you'd like to cover off before?
I always
before
forget
we wrap
that one.
up? Yeah.
I always forget.
Is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about, or anything that you thought we would cover that we didn't?
No, I'm just grateful for you guys having me.
Yeah.
You know, reaching out to me and inviting me, you know, because what you guys do about mental health, you've actually created the platform.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to, anyone with a story, man, anyone with a story, we want to share that story.
I'm humbled that people actually want to come and talk to us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. Yeah. We've had a couple of bigger names on now, a couple of like big YouTubers and stuff that have come through that we're like, fuck, we're actually reaching people. We're like,
you're reaching people. And fucking when they say Run That Rehab, running the collab, you know, bang, it's like, yeah, let's go on, let's ring them. Hey, Dennis, hey, what's their number?
Yeah.
That's good.
All
Anyway,
right, let him wrap it up.
So what does that term twist the throttle mean to you, bud?
Twist the throttle. Oh, so I was actually talking about this the other day, because like for me, when I first heard it, because I come from that recovery field, and twist that throttle, as in, this is a different angle, as in, you know, when you need to get away, you twist that throttle and you find peace and serenity when you're on the ride. Whether you're going whether it's a car on a cruise, for your mental health, sometimes you need to twist that throttle.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Love it.
Good
on you, Daz. Thank
you
for
so
coming.
much for coming on, mate. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks for riding with us today on Twist the Throttle. If you enjoyed the ride, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew. Remember, no matter how tough the road gets, you're never riding alone. Stay safe, stay open, and catch you on the next ride. Keep that throttle twisted.